This book is called Bunheads by Misty Copeland. She's a New York Times best-selling author. This book is illustrated by Seator Zigbee. Look at all these positions that ballerinas must learn. Misty Copeland is actually a very famous American prima ballerina for the American Ballet Theatre. Bunheads by Misty Copeland, illustrated by Seator Zigbee. This book is published by Putnam and Sons. For those who love to dance, because it gives you a voice, power, beauty, hope, and joy. You are all beautiful, and I celebrate everything that makes you unique. To all of my little bunheads, dance your dance and live your dreams. Misty Copeland. To my wife Mamie, for always believing in me, and for my daughter Lael, who always brings me joy. By the illustrator Seator Zigbee. If you notice, most of the little girls who are dancing have buns, and they're nicknamed bunheads. When Miss Bradley announced that they'd be performing the ballet Coppelia for the recital, everyone in Misty's class shouted excitedly and gathered around to hear their teacher tell the story of Coppelia. Misty didn't know what Coppelia meant, and she was too shy to ask, especially since it was her first ballet class ever. So Misty took a spot on the floor, and before she knew it, she was completely entranced as Miss Bradley told the tale. Once upon a time, an odd old toy maker made a beautiful life-size doll named Coppelia to cure his lonely heart. The doll was so pretty and looked so real that a boy named France fell in love with Coppelia at first sight, even though he'd already told Swanhilda he would marry her. Swanhilda was furious when she caught France blowing kisses to Coppelia, but France ignored her anger. Later, France sneaked into the toy maker's house to see Coppelia, but the toy maker caught him. When the toy maker realized that France was in love with this doll, he had an awful idea. Maybe he could use France's love to turn Coppelia into a real girl. Lucky for France, Swanhilda had also sneaked into the toy maker's house out of curiosity, and she was still hidden inside. She overheard the toy maker's evil plan and decided to dress like Coppelia to confuse the old man. Look, she's doing her hair like Coppelia. She's putting on Coppelia's dress. She's putting on makeup like Coppelia. Once the toy maker believed that his doll had finally come to life, France escaped. After that, France realized what a fool he'd been, and he married Swanhilda, and the two lived happily ever after. Missy loved how Swanhilda never lost sight of her goal or her real love. She knew she wanted to be Swanhilda. In just a few days, we will decide what roles you will dance in the performance, Miss Bradley had said. Now, let's practice. First, there was a développé tout tendu, with one leg lifted forward, the foot pointed gently touching the floor. Next, there was the rond de jambe tout tendu front, with the legs stretched out straight to the front, making big circles round and round in the air with the toes. Then it got a bit harder, with the pas de bourrée, moving from side to side as one foot crossed over the other. They had such fun with the saute nu as the young dancers twirled and spun in unison. Finally, the lesson ended with simultaneous pas de bourrée again and again. Misty picked up the steps easily, following only a half second behind the rest of the class. "Have you ever danced Coppelia?" Miss Bradley asked. Misty shook her head, nervously replying, "I've never even taken ballet before." "Well, you're very good," Miss Bradley said. "Come," she called to Misty and Kat, a younger girl, who was full of energy. "You two, up front." Misty could feel her heart pounding. Miss Bradley asked Kat to show Misty the dance of Coppelia. Coppelia sits in a chair on the balcony of the toy maker's house throughout the first act of the ballet. Kat held her arms in first position, then lifted her arms and turned her head like a robot, up and down and side to side. She performed the moves beautifully. When it was Misty's turn, she imitated Kat from memory. "You are both very gifted," Miss Bradley said. As soon as Misty got home, everything about the new class and the Coppelia fairy tale tumbled out of her. "I'm proud of you," Mommy said. Misty was so excited she could hardly sleep. She lay in bed thinking about the doll coming to life. Misty said her name aloud. Coppelia. Coppelia. It felt magical and full of mystery. The next day, Misty arrived early. Kat was there too, dancing the steps of Swanhilda. Oh no, Misty didn't know if she could compete with someone so talented. Soon Miss Bradley arrived. "Do you girls know which part you want to play in the recital?" Misty held her breath as Kat answered, "Coppelia." While the other dancers arrived, filling the studio with laughter, Misty and Kat stayed close, learning from each other. Kat's movements were sharp, while Misty's were soft. They tried to copy each other's style until they were giggling. At last, Miss Bradley was ready to audition the dancers to cast the parts that everyone would play in Coppelia. Nearly all hands shot toward the ceiling to audition for Coppelia. Misty was nervous for Kat, but when Kat began to move, Misty knew no one would be able to outdance her. When it was time to dance the role of Swanhilda, Misty was paired with a grinning younger boy named Wolfie, who was portraying Franz. Wolfie was on a mission to catch Misty's attention. The next day, Miss Bradley announced who would play what parts. Misty was excited when Kat got the part of Coppelia, and even happier when she won the part of Swanhilda. The next few weeks were full of hard work for Misty. She had to perform both Swanhilda and Coppelia when she tricked the toy maker into thinking she was the doll who had come to life. It was a lot to learn. Watching Kat dance her parts with ease made Misty try harder. They inspired each other. The night of the performance, Misty was so excited she couldn't keep still. Staring up at the heavy red curtain, Misty felt a hand on her back. "You okay?" Kat asked. Misty nodded. "I'm ready." And then the curtain was rising up and away. Bright spotlights filled onto the stage, casting a spell of stillness that would only be broken by movement. In her tutu and braided bodice, Misty pranced onto the stage as Swanhilda, with Wolfie playing the part of Franz. At last, lost in the dance, she felt the heat of the lights when she twirled and imagined she could see every face in the room, especially Mommy's. Misty smiled, proud of what she, Kat, Wolfie, and all the other dancers had accomplished together. She couldn't wait to see what they would do next. Wow, great story. I hope you enjoyed this story about Kat and Misty and the ballet Coppelia. Please join us for our next story time. Bye.